Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has assured Nigerians that it is poised to deliver an improved process in tomorrow's governorship and state houses of assembly elections. But given the momentous events of February 25th, many Nigerians will be asking exactly how ready is the commission? Well, Festus Okoye, INEC National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, joins us now. Good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. Now tell us, please, what will be different tomorrow? What's changed since February 25th? And why should we believe what INEC is assuring us this time around?
Well, the Commission is determined to improve on its previous performance. So what we have done is to learn valuable lessons from previous election that we conducted. And we are going to impute those lessons into our planning purposes and processes, and also into our deployment purposes. Now, as of today, what we are having are what we call state elections. That is the Governorship and State Assembly election. And in all the states of the Federation, both the beavers and all the sensitive election materials have left the central bank to the various state offices of the Commission. By 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. today, all the materials we leave for the various registration area centers or super racks from where the ad hoc staff we deploy to the polling units at the first light. So that's exactly one of the things we have done. We want to ensure that all polling units in all the states of the Federation open on time. That is one. Secondly, we made sure that we reconfigured all the beavers that will be used for this particular election in terms of making sure that the beavers performs optimally, and also in making sure that some of the challenges we had in the previous election does not reoccur. We have also given refresher training to all categories of staff that will be involved in this particular election. So we have gone very, very far in terms of planning for this election, and also in making sure that our resident electoral commissioners and our electoral officers at the various local governments understand the sensitivity of the issues involved. Because we are going to have 28 governorship elections and 993 state assembly constituency elections. So it's a huge election, and we are paying very close attention to what is going on in the various states.
We certainly do thank you for your effort. Now, for clarity purposes, what will be the mode of transmission of results in this election?
Well, the law as of today prescribes a dual mode of either transmission of results or transfer of results. When polls close at the level of the various polling units, the presiding officer who superintends the polling unit we enter the scores of the various political parties in Form EC8A, which is the polling unit level result. The presiding officer will sign that particular result sheet and stamp it. The polling agents or party agents, if available, will also countersign, and copies will be given to them and also given to Secrecy, the Nigerian police, which is the lead agency in terms of election security. So they will have a copy of that particular result. Now, that original result will be what is scanned and uploaded to our INEC result viewing portal for purposes of public viewing. Not only that, the accreditation data for that has arisen in terms of that particular polling unit will also be uploaded into our INEC result viewing portal. But the physical result and the physical beavers itself will also be taken to the first level of collation, which is the registration area collation center. So the collation officer will have the benefit of seeing the original result, seeing the beavers itself, having the benefit of looking at the accreditation data as transmitted, and also the result sheet as transmitted from the polling units. So that is the dual mode which the law has prescribed for the commission, and that's the mode that we are going to use for the purposes of this election.
Thank you, Dr. Okoye. I'm just looking to hear I was hoping to hear real time from you. Are we still going by what you told us last time in terms of real time with IREV? Because what was promised was not what was delivered, even though some might say real time is relative. So what should we expect in terms of IREV delivery tomorrow, or viewing results on IREV?
really too good with the English language. All I know.
Oh, but you are. I think you are.
Results will be transmitted as soon as the polls close from the various polling units, as well as the accreditation data for the election, will be transmitted into our INEC result viewing portal. And any Nigerian will have the opportunity of seeing these results as they are being transmitted to our INEC result viewing portal.
All right. So just to clarify that, given the complexity that your organization has already stated that this particular election has in comparison to the presidential election, does that mean that results will come out much later than what we saw on February 25th?
No. If you look at the trajectory of this particular election, you will see that for state assembly elections, there are smaller constituencies. So there are some state assemblies that are half of a local government, and some are one local government, and some are two local governments. So there's a possibility that for the local government elections, for the state assembly elections, results will come out on time. But for governorship elections, you have to first of all collect the results from the registration areas. Then from the registration areas, it will go to the local governments. And then from the local governments, it will now go to the state constituency, where the state collation officer or returning officer will announce the results. So the results for state constituencies will come out before the governorship elections. So that's the way the election will operate.
Well, Dr. Okoye, thank you so much. Please hold on and stay with us. We'll take a quick breather and get right back to you. Thank you so much.
All right, welcome back to Newsday. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, before the break, we were in conversation with Festus Okoye, who's the INEC National Commissioner and Chairman for Information and Voter Education Committee. Thank you so much for your patience, sir. And we continue the conversation now. I'd like to bring it to more current affairs, which is, of course, the news that's currently doing the rounds concerning the contract that is awarded to Nnani Press. Now, this company is allegedly linked to Aisha Nnani, who is the governorship candidate for the APC for Adamawa State. We've seen your statement that said that her name was not listed as one of the directors there, but that the due diligence will continue. Can you kindly just get into a little bit more detail regarding this? Because many observers, many critics, many analysts are saying it seems quite obvious that she is the owner of this business.
What this commission does is that when we have a procurement, we follow through the procurement processes. Every company that applies for any job within the commission goes through a due process requirement. Now, the company will apply, the commission will conduct search at the Corporate Affairs Commission and also be sure that the company meets all the basic requirements for the award of contract. In relation to this particular matter, the commission was deliberate that for the 2023 general election, all our security documents will be printed by Nigerian-based printers. So we went and visited all the printers that made the first level of our requirements in terms of meeting the threshold. And then we also conducted due diligence search at the Corporate Affairs Commission to be sure that, one, the company is registered, and secondly, to also be sure that there is no impediment to awarding that particular contract to that particular company. So as you can see, what was awarded to the Nnani Printing Press Limited are the printing of resources for the Northwest. And the commission has been dealing with this particular printing press for quite a while, and we have never had any challenges whatsoever. As at 2020 and 2021, and 2022 and 2023, the individual mentioned was not listed as one of the directors of the Nnani Printing Press Limited. Yes, her name was there as one of the founding directors, but as at the time this particular contract was awarded, she was no longer listed as a director in that particular company, and the company met all the requirements for the award of contract in relation to printing of security documents, and we have not had any issue whatsoever in relation to the security consciousness of this particular company, and also in relation to their delivering on time.
Well, thank you, Dr. Okoye. You might have not had issues at that time, but you have issues now, clearly. So would you say that this procurement process is flawed? Because if INEC did due diligence, then that was just a fact or detail too crucial to miss. So would you be looking at reviewing your procurement process since that crucial information was missed?
We didn't miss any crucial information. The fact that somebody was a director in a company 20 years ago and exited the company 10 years ago does not mean that the person still retains either controlling share in the particular company or still retains interest in that particular company. What the commission has done is to carry out due diligence in terms of the ownership structure of the company, and she was not listed as one of the directors as at the time we awarded that particular contract. And the company met all the requirements as a security printer and has also delivered on previous jobs that has been given to it. So as far as the commission is concerned, we carried out due diligence, and we also followed our procurement processes and also the procurement procedures prescribed by various laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we have no reason to begin to go and unveil a company to go and see whether 30 years ago somebody was a director in that particular company. No, we don't do that. We look at the current directors of a particular company as at the time of the procurement. If we begin to unveil the directors who served in various companies 10, 20, 50 years ago, there won't be any end to it. So I believe that we did what the law requires us to do, and also we were diligent in terms of awarding contract to various companies that printed security documents for the commission.
I'm sorry, Vimba, if I may, but Dr. Okoye, the feedback you're getting is showing that this is an issue. So in spite of the fact that this is being raised or being flagged as an issue, are you saying that you will not be taking into consideration reviewing your procurement process in spite of the feedback you're getting right now, the feedback that you've also received?
The point I'm making is that if we begin to go back and begin to unveil and remove the veil from various companies that do business with the commission, there won't be an end to controversy. The point I'm making is that what the law requires the commission to do is, one, to see that the company that we award security printing contracts to are properly registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Two, that those companies have the financial base and resources to execute the type of contracts we have given to them. And that three, that such companies have some security features that enables them to print security documents in terms of having all the necessary safeguards to make sure that nothing that is given to them leaks to the public, and also to make sure that we monitor all the contracts we have given to them, and also monitor the printing of these documents. Our staff are embedded in some of these companies that we give security jobs to print, to make sure that nothing leaks. And as of today, we have not had any issue whatsoever in terms of the contracts we have awarded to various companies. For the 2023 general election, we awarded contracts to thousands of companies, and we cannot begin to go and unveil the ownership structure of some of those companies 30 years ago to find out whether a politician is involved in some of those companies. We don't have any issues as at now, and there's no need for us to review anything as at today.
Okay, now the reason why, of course, this is such a big issue is because based on the last, on the February 25 polls, there's what almost seems to be a crisis of trust and credibility between the voters, the citizens, and INEC. And when you look at some of the reports from observer organizations, both local and international, they were not flattering to INEC. Now, I'd love for you to communicate a message to Nigerians right now. What do you say to Nigerians who have become disillusioned, have lost faith in INEC, and have lost trust in this process? Because I'm sure you're very well aware that this organization is the hope of Nigerians at this very moment. What is your message to people who feel that they can't trust INEC anymore?
I really don't agree with you that the trust in INEC has completely waned. No, mistakes were made. There were challenges, and we have rectified those challenges. The 2023 Presidential and National Assembly election are not the only elections the Commission conducted. There have been previous elections that the Commission conducted, and Nigerians commended improvements that were made in terms of processes and also in terms of procedures. There were challenges with the uploading of the presidential election result to our INEC result viewing portal during the February 28th, 25th general election. And the Commission has explained its position. We will continue to assure and reassure Nigerians that this commission is a commission of the Nigerian people, that this commission is a public trust. When mistakes are made, we have the courage and the staying power to own up to some of these mistakes. And we also have the courage to correct some of these mistakes and correct weaknesses. And that's exactly what we intend to do with the March 18 Governorship and State Assembly elections. Valuable lessons have been learned, and we will continue to improve with every election. So we are confident that with the level of preparations we have made, with the level of deployment we have carried out, with the level of refresher training we have given to our staff, that we are going to have a much better election this time around than before.
Well, thank you, Mr. Okoye. One of the aspects of this day report, which has been confirmed by the presidency in terms of some governors looking to go to whatever extent to ensure that they win in their various states, is that they might be working with resident electoral commissioners. I'm just wondering what steps you have taken to ensure that, if that is in fact the case, that it doesn't materialize tomorrow.
Well, we have communicated to our resident electoral commissioners and our electoral officers the importance of this particular election. They know that this election is a state-based election, and this election is both a governorship and state assembly election. And so they know the importance of this election. They also know that the commission, as of today, has zero tolerance for electoral malfeasance and negligence. And so our resident electoral commissioners and administrative secretaries, where we don't have resident electoral commissioners, are working assiduously to make sure that we deliver an election that is much, much better. But I also believe that it is also important for citizens to be vigilant in terms of protecting their mandate and also protecting the electoral process. It is also important for both governors and political parties and other stakeholders to realize that this country is not at war and this country is not going to war. That what we are going into is a governorship and state assembly election. And so I think that it is imperative for everybody to calm down, to enable the commission serve the Nigerian people, to enable the commission deploy early, and also to enable the voters to come out under a secure environment that will enable them to exercise their democratic franchise without anything untoward happening to them.
But, sir, Mr. Okoye, understanding the import and communicating the importance of this election to your resident electoral commissioners is one thing. What about those that might have actually been compromised? How have you addressed that?
Well, we don't have any information whatsoever to the effect that any of our resident electoral commissioners has been compromised. Yes, after the Presidential and National Assembly election, we asked 2 resident electoral commissioners to step aside. And they were asked to step aside on grounds of the fact that we were not satisfied with their performance before and during the conduct of the Presidential and National Assembly elections. We didn't ask them to step aside on grounds of compromise. And as of today, we don't have any information whatsoever that any of our resident electoral commissioners has been compromised. We have to be very, very careful because there are all sorts of rumors both on social media and even on the mainstream media. In a particular state, 5 political parties will be accusing a particular resident electoral commissioner of compromise. What that means is that that particular resident electoral commissioner is doing what is right, given the circumstances. And so I think that we must give our resident electoral commissioners the space to operate and also the space to deploy, rather than trying to demonize some of them even before elections take place. But we have confidence in our resident electoral commissioners that they are going to do what is right, given the sensitivity of the governorship election and the state assembly elections.
All right. Now, I'm quite sure that INEC has had several post-mortem meetings after the February 25 polls. Now, we've heard from various people who've rated the performance of INEC at the February 25 polls. Some people going as far as saying that this was the worst election since 2019. But I'd love to know from yourselves internally, how do you rate this election in comparison to all those that have been held since 2019?
I don't think that it is within our power to rate ourselves. But I believe that in the fullness of time, Nigerians will come to see that this particular election, that is the Presidential and National Assembly election, produced a rainbow coalition, a rainbow National Assembly that has never been produced before. People will look back and see a situation where serving governors even lost their senatorial seats. It has never happened before. So I believe that when people sit back and look at all the gamut of issues that attended the election and also have a sober reflection, they will see that this commission did well with the Presidential and National Assembly elections. Yes, we acknowledge the fact that we could have done much, much better in terms of early deployment and also in terms of some of our processes that had challenges. And we have explained to the Nigerian people why we had some of those challenges and the fact that we have rectified some of those challenges. But I believe that it is too early in the day to begin to rate ourselves or to even judge this particular election. But I believe that in the fullness of time, Nigerians will come to appreciate the fact that this election produced a National Assembly that is more representative of the various tendencies and the various colors of political parties in Nigeria.
Mr. Okoye, you've certainly done justice, explaining what's happening to us. But if we could just go back, to that bit of this day report that the presidency confirmed, in which some governors might be working with some resident electoral commissioners. I'm just wondering if you could tell us more about the two people who were sacked by INEC. Was there any form of compromise detected? You've said that that probably wasn't, but could you clarify what led to their sacking for us?
The Independent National Electoral Commission as a body does not have the right and the power, both constitutionally and legally, to relieve any resident electoral commissioner of his or her duties. The resident electoral commissioners are appointed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and confirmed by the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Their dismissal or their removal also follows the same trajectory. The president must go to the National Assembly to get approval to dismiss or sack or terminate the appointment of any resident electoral commissioner. So the commission does not have the right to delve into that. However, constitutionally, resident electoral commissioners exercise powers delegated to them by the commission, and they are also answerable to the commission. So the commission can, in its wisdom, based on the performance of a resident electoral commissioner, ask the resident electoral commissioner to step aside, and all the powers exercisable by a resident electoral commissioner can be transferred to an administrative secretary of the commission. And that's exactly what the commission did. The two resident electoral commissioners did not perform well in terms of preparing for the conduct of the Presidential and National Assembly elections, and also in terms of delivering on their mandate. And so based on that, and also based on the fact that we have the Governorship and State Assembly elections, we ask them to step aside and we transfer the powers exercisable by them to the administrative secretaries pending the conclusion of these elections before we come back and make a determination on what to do with them going forward. But we don't have the right to either dismiss or terminate the appointments. So they remain resident electoral commissioners because they are appointed by the president, and only the president, with the concurrence of the National Assembly, that can remove them.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, another major point that was brought up by international observers after February 25th is the lack of secrecy at the voting booths. Now, I know you've already outlined issues concerning BVAS, issues concerning logistics. I'd love to know whether this is something you have addressed. Have you taken into consideration some of the reports that were shared by the international observers that came in?
What we normally do is that at the conclusion of any election, we sit back and do what we call both internal and external evaluation of the conduct of the election. And when we are carrying out internal evaluation, we also have meetings with our electoral officers at the base level, who are more or less the managing directors of election. We also have meetings with our resident electoral commissioners, as well as collation officers that superintended the collation and return in some of these elections. And so that has not taken place. What has taken place is our own review within the commission, and also our own review with our resident electoral commissioners, so that we can plan for the remaining elections. After this Governorship and State Assembly election, we still have supplementary elections in some states of the Federation. For instance, in Sokoto State, for instance, no senator has been returned as elected, and no member of the House of Representatives has been returned as elected. So in places where supplementary elections are indicated, we are going to conduct supplementary elections in those places. So after this gamut of elections, we will now sit back as a commission to look at both our own processes and also look at the reports from international and domestic election observers, and then learn valuable lessons and harvest what we can harvest from some of these reviews and internal processes. So in terms of a comprehensive review, we have not done any comprehensive review.
Well, thank you, Mr. Okoye. Now, respectfully, some analysts might say that you had 4 years to prepare for February 25th and you had one job. And like you rightly responded to Vimba, you can't score yourself, but from the feedback that we've seen, it wasn't your best performance. So considering that between February 25th and March 18th, that was an even shorter time, you might have to agree that that issue of trust and all that's what's also happened in between that timeline has actually made the gap of distrust to widen. So could you go into more specifics, like you did in the beginning, and tell us what will happen tomorrow on the part of INEC to ensure that you redeem your image?
Well, in terms of saying that we have 4 years to prepare for one election, I don't think that is correct.
I didn't say one election.
If you look at the elections we are going to conduct tomorrow, you will see that we have election in only 28 states of the Federation in terms of governorship election. What that means is that in 8 states of the Federation, we have conducted governorship elections. We don't have governorship election in Anambra because we've conducted governorship election in Anambra. We don't have governorship election in Imo because we conducted it off cycle. The same thing with Bayelsa, the same thing with Osun State, the same thing with Ondo State, the same thing with Edo State, and the same thing with Kogi and Ekiti State. And so it's like in the 4 year period, we conduct election almost every year. But in terms of what is going to happen tomorrow, most of all the states of the Federation have left the central bank with the sensitive election materials and have left our state offices with the beavers that will be used for voter accreditation tomorrow. Most of them are in the various local governments as of today, and by 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. they will go to the various super racks and the registration area centers from where they will deploy at the first light on Saturday. We've given refresher training to all categories of staff to make sure that they perform well and perform optimally. We have reconfigured the beavers, and we have also did a test run of the beavers to make sure that it's going to perform in terms of voter accreditation and voter verification. And we have also made sure that all the staff understand the sensitivity of this particular election and they are ready to give their best in this election. We have also farmed up our contract with the National Union of Road Transport Workers in terms of the ability to convey materials from one point to the other, and also engage in both forward and reverse logistics after the election. And so we are confident that we are going to have a much better elections tomorrow. But let me also say this: we have security challenges in some states of the Federation, and we are taking those security challenges on board. There are places where we can only activate 3 super racks in a particular local government. And so there are issues we are dealing with, but we are confident that with the cooperation of the security agencies, we are going to have a better outing tomorrow.
All right. Now, lastly and very quickly before we go, what do you say to those who are saying that INECs appealing the order of the Federal High Court in Abuja granting Koforola Olusegun and Wilson Orwell their right to use their temporary voters' cards to vote tomorrow? What do you say to those who are saying that this is taking away their basic rights as Nigerians, as, of course, the court has granted them the right to vote?
No, we have appealed. This commission will obey that order, but we have appealed against that particular order because the order inures only to those two individuals. But let us be very, very clear. If you look at section 16, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022, it makes it very clear. It says that the commission shall design, cause to be printed, and control the issuance of voters' cards to voters whose names appear on the register. During the continuous voters registration exercise, we didn't issue any individual with any temporary voters card. We issued individuals with a slip, just a slip, to confirm that they appeared before us and to also confirm that we are going to go and verify whether they have registered before and whether there are any impediments with their being registered voters. So we issued a slip. We didn't issue a temporary voters card to any individual. But in terms of obeying court order, we are going to obey the court order, but we are going to we have appealed against the court order because we believe that the law was not properly applied, and we also believe that this commission reserves the right, the proprietary right in the voters' card resides with the Independent National Electoral Commission, and we are the ones who will determine what is a permanent voters' card and the type of card that can be used for voting purposes in any election.
Well, Mr. Festus Okoye, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your reassurance. Hopefully everything will come to pass like you rightly explained. We appreciate your time on Newsday. Thank you so much.